this morning. For those of you who didn't, I hope you're wearing sunscreen. We are here this afternoon to get an update on the 2018 budget from the Finance Director. But before that, I would like to offer Mayor Megan Berry a moment to address the council. So if you will welcome Mayor Megan Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you, members of the Metro Council. It is always my pleasure to be invited to come and speak to you today, so thank you for welcoming me. Thank you to all of you who were able to make time this morning to be at the State of Metro. I appreciate that. I enjoyed being able to take a few minutes and talk about my vision for Nashville, and then also to have some of the highlights of what the budget will include. Now, I'm not going to speak for long, because really the person that you want to hear from is Talia. And yeah, you can clap for Talia. What I really want to do is just say thank you. I appreciate everything that all of you do for Nashville, and I know that you're going to give this budget careful consideration and a lot of thought. And we're really fortunate at this moment to serve and to lead here in Nashville, because as you heard today, there are so many great opportunities to guide our growth and to help our citizens. We have a lot in this budget for housing, transit, education, public safety, economic development, job growth, and quality of life. And we have, I think, a chance to do some really, really great things for the citizens of our great city and to make their future and Nashville's future much brighter. We've already had some great work that we've been able to do together and some really great accomplishments over the past year and a half, and I know that there will be more to come, and I look forward to working with you for that. My administration is also very eager to work with you as you do consider this budget. I know that there's going to be a lot of questions over the next 2 months, so please know that we are here to ask, to help you with those questions and to answer them as best as we can. After we do the budget presentation today, this budget is in your great hands, and I know that you will think about it carefully, and I appreciate that hard work that's going to come and the hard work that all of you are going to do. So thank you so much, and I'll turn it over to Talia. Thank you.
Mr. Riebling, we'd be glad to welcome you back if you're interested, too.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome. I am honored to be here today to present the details of the mayor's 2018 budget. Just in terms of a few introductions, Mr. Zach Kelly is going to serve as my mighty Vanna role today and push some buttons for me as we're up here. I want to also acknowledge the Finance Department and the staff from the Finance Department, particularly the budget office staff, many of whom are in the back. They have worked months and months throughout this process, and I would like to take a moment and acknowledge their time and effort. I also want to thank the department heads and all the elected officials that have dealt with our thousands of questions throughout this process, because there have been many. And finally, I just want to thank Mayor Berry for all of the support that she provides me. I think it is an honor to be a public servant, And that's the reason that I show up all of the time to do this work, because I think it's important work. So we will start straight in, and if you all don't mind, I'll try to move through these very quickly so that we will have time for questions at the end. I feel like it's important to check in on the current year budget status. We are absolutely operating within our budget allocations. We are meeting all of our revenue estimates. This time last year, when we came in and we presented revenue estimates of $121 million, it made me kind of nervous when I said that, because we'd never seen that type of growth without a property tax increase. Well, we're meeting those revenue estimates, and we expect the economy to stay strong as we move forward. The bond rating agencies, we were recently reaffirmed for our bond ratings back in January when they came in. They had great things to say about the city and where we stand in terms of the economy. And they particularly made note that they were impressed with the sound financial management of the city. And they felt like that the city was in very good hands. So when we kicked off the budget process, the instructions were very simple. They're right there before you. The mayor stated emphatically that there would not be a tax increase. Departments were grateful. There were no reduction scenarios. And as we've done in the past couple of years, we wanted to take a 3-year look in terms of the budget needs for the city. And of course, collaboration was forefront on every initiative that we had. The mayor addressed her priorities earlier this morning. I couldn't go into these in any more detail than what she articulated in this morning's State of Metro speech, but here's the recap on that. And I think that you will find that this budget perfectly aligns with these priorities as we walk through this presentation. So that's a $2 billion budget that we're filing today with the Metro Council for consideration. That is a 5.86% increase over last year's budget. And for comparison purposes, when we came before you last year, that increase was 6.1%. So the growth is slightly less than the budget we presented last year, but it's still strong. This chart right here shows that growth for reference only, so that you can see how the city has grown over the past few years. And it is significant. So here's our famous chart, where the money comes from. The percentages here, if you compare this to last year's chart, they're basically the same when you look at those in terms of whole numbers and the groupings in terms of how much money is coming from property taxes and local options. So there may be some small fractional differences, but they roll up to those same categories. But this next chart is probably the one that will make the most sense to you, and I'll refresh your memory as we go through here. Out of this $119 million, $49 million of that is in property tax growth. When you saw this chart last year with these same categories, we had almost an even distribution amongst all of these categories. Property tax was up about 33, local option was up about 27, grants and contributions were at about 27. So there was somewhere between 28, 33 million. This year, what you're seeing is that property taxes are the driver for the revenue. And it is because of the new properties that are coming online and what we're seeing in terms of commercial growth in the tax rate more than anything else. I think I do want to make this point because when you look at local option, this is important to note. You'll see we got $25 million of growth, but last year it was 27. So we still got strong growth in local option, but it's a little bit less than what it was last year. And the same is happening with all other and the grants and contributions, but the property taxes are more than offsetting that in terms of overall growth for the city. Okay. This next chart just kind of summarizes where we have been. If you go back to fiscal year 14, we were only 55 million, less than 50 million. And then here in more recent years, we've hit the 121 and now 119 million, 119.1 million of revenue growth. I mean, it really is impressive. So when you walk outside and you see all of the cranes and all of the activity and all of the new businesses and everything, I mean, the money is coming in the door. This city really is in a good place in terms of revenue growth and the strength of the economy. Specifically in regard to property tax, I think that this one is notable. This is the first time overall property taxes are going to exceed $1 billion if you look at this chart for the city. And it's not the result of a tax increase. It's all the result of economic activity and growth in the city. The next slide is I just wanted to give you all kind of a snapshot in terms of other cities and counties and where their property tax rates are today. And we're at the 452. You'll see Chattanooga is sitting at 507. Memphis is the highest sitting there, Memphis, Shelby County. And we put these numbers together so we'd have a consolidated combined rate for comparison purposes. They're at 777. And those first four are also going through reappraisal process as we are. But this time last year, I think I was thinking after the reappraisal that our tax rate might drop $1. Next slide. It's dropping $1.36. And again, that's not because of anything having to do with in terms of a tax increase or anything. And it is the lowest combined tax rate in the history of Metro government. And at this time, I mean, it would not be right for me not just to acknowledge Assessor Wilhoit, because she and her team have worked with us diligently over the past few months to work through this data and for everyone to get comfortable with this. And she and her team have just been wonderful to work with, and I appreciate her so very much. And I have to say that in a very public way, because that, with the transition and everything, and her walking into a reassessment, there was a lot of work to be done, and they did a terrific job. Okay, so of course this is the preliminary certified rate, which is what will be filed with the budget, but it still has to go through the state approvals, and the state has to sign off on it. Typically, we'll get that final approval, we think, in June is usually a normal timeline. So we may or may not have the final rate for the substitute budget ordinance times. It just depends on the state approval cycle and when we'll get final notification on the rate. So I wanted to make sure that everyone understood this was a preliminary rate. And so we're excited. Sales tax, strong as well. Just go back to FY14. That's $100 million of additional sales tax growth. I mean, these are just real numbers, people spending money. Then also in this budget, we are recommending the use of fund balance, and those numbers are listed there, but we will be at our minimum requirement on all of the funds, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a second. But I wanted to make sure that I was clear and gave you all that information. And this chart just depicts the use of fund balance. And if you can go back, Zach. A point that I think I'd like to bring up here is we have used a fund balance to balance the budget in prior years, but we have not had to use very much of that budgeted fund balance in prior years. And the rating agencies have been particularly pleased with that because, and the reason we haven't used it is because there have been just natural savings in the budget as well as revenue growth has been stronger than what our revenue estimates have been. Because when we present you these numbers, they are conservative revenue estimates. So we, during the year, we often, we have in these past few years, beat those revenue estimates and not had to use this fund balance even though it was budgeted for use. So where the money goes, this is everyone's favorite chart as well. And again, just like the other one, I'll leave that for you to look at, but the percentages are pretty much the same as they were in the prior year. Now, this is the fund chart. So you've got your starting point, you got $119 million. What are you going to do with it? So we had choices to make. During the budget process, many of you attended those budget meetings. Before we even began to look at what I consider to be kind of discretionary items and improvements and things like that, we needed to ensure that we took care of the things that were required, okay? In terms of the departmental budget requests, they came in and asked for more, just on the operating side, more than $155 million of improvements came in from the Metro departments for improvement requests. And I will give a shout out right now to Councilman Cooper because he sat through every one of those sessions and heard all those requests. And he knows that that list was very long. So we knew we weren't going to have $155 million, and that's before you take care of the things that you know you need to take care of. So the first thing we said is, okay, we got to take care of debt service. People are concerned about whether or not our debt service is covered in the budget. So this budget, I'm going to show you a chart later on in this presentation. We are taking care of our normal operating debt service needs for the current year, but we have also looked to see what we need in terms of principal and interest for FY19. And this budget sets aside $11.4 million in a reserve to take care of that debt. Okay? And when I show you this chart later on in here, you'll get a better sense of why that's really, really important. Also, so you take that off the top, then schools gets $36 million because we needed to make sure that schools had proper resources. Then we wanted to take care of employees. And after we did that, we said we got $24 million to do everything else that everybody has asked for out of that $155 million request. And this is how we end up to where we are today. We had to go in and look at that list of $155 million of requests and figure out what we could do for about $24 million. And then I'm going to walk you through some of the choices that were made in determining how to allocate that. Okay, we already talked about the employee investments. The mayor talked about the first item, but also what will be coming forward to you all is that last time that we did a pay plan study, there was a request, I think even the council was part of that, that the HR department look at Metro Council and Vice Mayor salaries, and they did that. And they have made a recommendation for a $7,000 per member increase, but of course that will be effective after the next election. So that will be part of the recommendation that comes before this body. Okay. And the summary for employees are there. It's important to know that we have heard loud and clear that every year employees have said we're not quite sure what we're going to get in terms of pay plan recommendations. So the mayor made a commitment that we would do a 3-year pay plan and commit to the employees in terms of what their salary increases will be over the next 3 years. And that I've been in Metro now for 17 years. That probably has not, it's been more than 10 years since that type of commitment has been made to employees. And this right here outlines what the recommendations will be in the outer years. Other employee benefits that we had to make sure that we covered. Health and dental benefits. The mayor talked about family medical leave. We're going to have a recommendation coming before the Civil Service. The Civil Service Commission has to approve that. And then we're going to hire a financial wellness counselor, someone to work with Metro employees around managing their own finances. We're going to set aside a small amount of money for a tuition assistance pilot for employees that want to go to school to continue their education, where they can get a partial reimbursement. We're not going to cover the whole class, but partial reimbursement for completion of graduate coursework or work that might be related to classwork that's related to their work. It has to be work related. So we're thinking about giving a small stipend for that at the completion of the class. Shift for differential pay. Apparently that's not been changed since 1996. The rates for people that work in the evening, or they get an extra 60 cents, and the people that work at night get an extra 70 cents. So we're going to make a slight adjustment to that, and that may not sound like a lot, but that is important to our firefighters and our police officers. That is an important benefit for them. And we're going to increase the uniform allowance for police and fire. The current rates for the uniform allowances are $400, and that's going to increase to $500. So we're just really pleased about that. We talked about schools. They're going to get a $36 million increase out of that $119 million. But what people don't always, they don't always remember that the capital plans that come before this body are fully funded by Metro. The state doesn't participate in the cost of upgrading schools, building new schools, and things like that. So all of that debt service is funded by Metro, because you get the capital spending, but then you got to pay the debt later on. This budget also includes another $10 million to take care of debt service for schools. So if you look at that overall revenue growth, there's about $46 million of that revenue growth just covering the needs of Metro schools between the debt service and the other. The mayor talked a little bit about some of the things that they've got covered. She has particular interest in them, looking at literacy initiatives and English language learners and social and emotional learning type activities, and then of course funding pay for the employees that work in our schools. The next chart is just for your reference. I just wanted to make sure you guys had this as a takeaway, because I wanted you to see the total commitment that has been made to Metro schools and funding over the past few years. And I'm expecting that the city will eclipse $1 billion this time next year in terms of support of our schools. Transportation and infrastructure. MTA is recommended for a $7 million increase, and I'm not going to read through that list, but the first item on that list is something that's really important to the mayor and that people understand, is that we're going to eliminate those transfer fees. That's number one on there. If there was anything on this entire list that she wanted to make sure that got emphasized, it was that item. This is really the single biggest improvement that MTA has ever gotten from Metro. And Public Works is getting $1.5 million. You guys remember the annexation? Now it's time to start putting some of the infrastructure in place in those districts to make sure that those things are in place. We talked about the roving trash truck, downtown glass recycling, and then they've got some minor contractual increases that are also in their budget. This is a slide that just shows the growth of the MTA subsidy. Back in 2009, it was $17.5 million. This budget is recommending $49 million. I think that this just really demonstrates the city's commitment to dealing with the issue of transit. But back to the mayor's point, the city can't do it all. So we are absolutely going to have to, you know, as much as we put in, we need more if we really want the type of transit system that the city desires. Affordable housing and homelessness. Barnes Fund, you guys should remember the HIP program that came before you all a couple of months ago for a housing incentive. VASH, that's the vouchers for the veterans. Social services, that's to provide some additional support for the homeless and those of least among us. We've got some outreach workers, going to put some money in a warming shelter, some direct assistance, and also indigent burials. And then going to provide some local bus passes for folks that are experiencing homelessness, so that what we heard during the budget process is that many of these folks, they want to find a job, but they don't have a way to get to the place to do an interview or to go to where the services are being provided, and a simple bus pass might be the solution for them to be able to get to the services that they need. Community support and economic development, the arts. There's money in here for temporary public art and the Thrive program, and some additional funding for for grants. We're going to put about $275,000 of that arts number goes specifically to grants to grant out to other organizations. Parks has $1 million in there for everything from maintenance and parks police, Celebrate Nashville, Smith Springs and Madison centers opening. There's an interesting program where they want to expand services for adults with disabilities at Centennial. We've there's some resources being put in the budget to provide some additional programming for adults with disabilities. So we tried to cover a great deal of ground here. Codes, property standards. There's an urban forester in there for those who might be interested. So, but, and I guess I want to say that is that, you know, I hear these conversations, and sometimes people, I don't always know if they know that I'm listening, but I'm always listening. Always listening to the little things. We talked about the Historic Preservation Trust Fund, and we're going to create an application process where people can apply for funds to restore properties. Health, we talked about the opioid coordinator, and there's also some resources in there to expand dental health services for infants, not infants and very small children. Public safety, fire. We talked about fire, new recruits, and then the police. The mayor talked about both of those, and then there are some other smaller items that are also in the budget for both of those departments. And you all are going to get the detail on this. There's just so much detail. And this next slide is just to, we wanted to remind you that this was not just about that public safety. We shouldn't see all of this just through the public safety lens, that we wanted to make sure that we were paying attention to this from a justice standpoint, the entire justice system. So in this budget, you will see the Steering Clear program recommendations, which is a driver's license diversion program. You'll see something for the Veterans Court, Drug Court, Mental Health Court. You'll see social workers and some support for domestic violence, as well as some investigators. We tried to, when you had to make that choice between what to do with that $119 million, we tried to make sure that our recommendations were balanced. So as you start to bring in the departments, they'll be able to speak to all of these initiatives. Hospitals, the mayor mentioned today, We are recommending that the hospital authority subsidy be at $35 million, but we are having to add to the budget Bordeaux and Knowles to meet those contractual requirements. And then the next slide. This just gives you some context. This is your takeaway in terms of the subsidy that has been provided to Metro General. And we just wanted you all to have that available to you during this budget process. And then the next slide, please. These are the commitments that came to the administration as well as the council from the Hospital Authority Board. These are their words in terms of the things that they want to do to move the hospital in a good direction. We feel like we need to give them time to meet these commitments, and we wanted to just remind this body of what those commitments were. The annual debt report will be to you all today, but there's a couple of slides here that I want to bring to your attention. This is one that everybody has been paying close attention to in terms of what the percentage is. This year's budget is 12.56% of the budget. Okay? It's growing, but I think it's okay. So I'm going to tell you why I think it's okay. It's this slide. What this slide depicts is our principal and interest payments for debt from now through 2025. You'll see that in the current year, we're at 232, and then 2018, it jumps to 258, it jumps up to 267, then it levels off, and it starts dropping. By setting aside that reserve that I mentioned earlier in the budget, so this is partially why that percent is going up, because we're putting more money into the debt service budget. But what we're doing is we are taking care of not only the increase in budget that's planned for FY18, but also the anticipated need in FY19. And so we are pleased, and we think that that is a good strategy. We think that that's the right way to look at this long-term debt. That's the reason why we have 3-year budgets and why you don't look at these things cycle by cycle, because you do need to have a long-term perspective. And we think it's the right thing to do. So again, out of that revenue growth of $119 million, we're putting $40 million of that just in the debt service to cover our debt obligations. Capital spending plan, the mayor talked about some of the highlights, but we will be filing that on the 15th, the actual document. She just gave you all some highlights today. So I wanted you all to know when that was coming. And then this next slide is really just for your reference. I wanted you all to have available to you before that presentation a history of capital spending plans that had been submitted to this body and approved in recent history. I just wanted to make sure you had that. Okay, and then we've got a lot of legislation that's going to track with budget, so I wanted to make sure that you all had a list of that. The books are scheduled in terms of the materials that will be available for your hearings will be either late on the 8th or the morning of the 9th of May. Just depends on when the printer can deliver them to us, so give us a little wiggle room there. Departments will be notified by their analysts today of the specific highlights and their specific items that are recommended in the budget. And then council hearings, we're ready. We're ready for you all. So with that, those are the end of my remarks, and I will take any questions that anybody has. It's a good day.
Thank you. Before we get to questions, I'm going to acknowledge Councilman John Cooper, the Chair of Budget and Finance, just to give an overview of process as far as he sees it, and then we'll come back to questions and or I'm sure nobody will just have a statement that ends in a question mark, but I've never heard that here. But we'll come back to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Thank everybody for being here. And I want to thank Talia and her team. And I'm grateful that we have a true public servant here working for all the citizens of Nashville. So budget hearings, be ready. And following the Pridemorian system going forward, you've gotten a schedule starting on May 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. So they're pretty active. All the meetings are scheduled to start at 4 and can extend beyond 6. To some extent, the most detailed hearing is scheduled for the last, so in case it runs over. Also on the 30th is going to be a treasurer's report, actually from the Finance Department, covering the liability structure for Metro, as well as capital spending projects that have been approved but are yet unfunded. That's a pretty big backlog of $850 million. The mayor's, by charter, the mayor will be submitting her capital improvements budget by May the 15th. We have to pass it by June the 15th. So in recognition of that, once she submits her CIB, the mayor, then the budget hearings on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th will incorporate questions about capital spending as well, and not just operating. You hate to rush everything, but that seems to be the most efficient way of doing that, both operating and capital questions. And then the departments that are scheduled on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th tend to be the big capital users, not exclusively, but by and large, the schedule has been reallocated to have the big capital users in that period of time. We have to pass the CIB by June the 15th. By charter, pass the operating budget by June the 30th. It's currently scheduled to have the third reading and passage of the operating budget at the June 20th meeting, the second meeting in June. Now, between the 30th and the first meeting in May, there may be other called meetings. I welcome in myself meeting with everyone, and I know Talia and her wonderful finance team does as well. It's a big, thick book with lots of details going forward, and of course, we have lots of questions. But again, that's the current schedule, and again, starting at 4 on all of those days and probably concluding well after 6. And again, capital intensive hearings starting on the 22nd through the 25th, and then in particular, people's specific views about the budget, please communicate them to me or to Danielle. We will collect them and then present them individually or as a group to the Finance Department and work towards just a really great budget for everybody here in Nashville. A lot of needs to balance, and I know the finance team and the mayor's office has been working extremely hard to try to meet some of those needs. So thank you, Vice Mayor, just to go over the schedule going forward.
Thank you. Councilman Shulman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. And thank you, Talia. A good report. And a lot of, obviously, good news. But I'm always the person who questions and says, okay, so everything's going well. We got lots of good numbers. But this goes back to a question I've had before. You know, most national groups say, you know, we're on an up cycle, but they'll, you know, we're likely to have a recession at some point. It's just the way these things work. It's a cycle. So when you all prepare something like this, do you all look for, do you all take that into consideration that in case, you know, the sales tax trends look really good, but, you know, we're not sure what may happen in the future, so we always want to be careful for future budgets and make sure that we're not going to put ourselves in a bind?
I absolutely agree. And an example of that, we were watching everything that was going on up at the General Assembly this year. And in our revenue assumptions and how we were trying to balance, you know, income tax, everything that they had going on with the Improve Act, which changed every day, which meant my revenue estimates were changing every day. I don't know how many times I saw Councilman Cooper. He said, you got those revenue estimates locked down? And I said, not yet. But we absolutely do. We look for those trends. And So when I put in these numbers, they are conservative numbers. And that's why I wanted to reiterate that 121. Last year, that was scary putting in that 121 because that was a really big number compared to what we had seen before. And I didn't know if I believed that trend or not. Well, are we meeting those estimates this year? Absolutely. But yes, we take those very seriously and we're very, very conservative because with those estimates.
And I understand, and it should scare us all that, I mean, we're going through this boom time, and the question is, how long does it continue? So that would lead to my second question, and that is the employee investment. Obviously, we heard from the mayor this morning, 2% increase this coming year, and then a commitment from the mayor to do a 3% the next year and a 3% the year after that. So obviously, that's going to depend on revenues, unless the commitment is to, if the revenues don't go up like we would hope, then something else is going to have to be cut. But that's a pretty good chunk of money.
Yes, that would absolutely, that's the commitment that's being made, is that the employees are going to be put first in those years in terms of meeting those commitments that have been done. And the city has not made that kind of long-term commitment to its employees in a very long time.
Understand.
And I think that they will appreciate this very much.
Do we know the amount of money that we're looking at for the year for?
Yes, we have an
year
estimate.
two?
I don't have those in front of me, but yes, we've got all that.
Okay. And then my last question, Mr. Vice Mayor, has to do with General Hospital. Obviously, we've seen over the last 2 years, this council, that the $35 million has not been enough. Every year we come up with a supplemental, and I assume other people on this council will ask you probably the same thing or more specific. But maybe just generally, it hasn't worked in the past 2 years. So is it really going to work this year?
We hope so. We hope that some things can be done. We need to give the Finance Committee out there and that board a chance to meet those commitments that were made on that chart. You know, I can't project what may or may not happen, but we need to see progress on those initiatives.
Okay. And the additional money for Knowles and for the Signature Run facility is in addition to that $35 million. It is not out of that.
Right. So that's
Okay.
where the improvement is in the budget for those two items.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. One question about the $11.4 million debt service to planning ahead for FY 2019,
Yes.
which sounds like a very smart idea. So is that anticipating the next bond issue that we'll have?
No, what that is anticipating is what we know about today. In terms of doing a new bond issuance, that would add on to the debt, but we wanted to go ahead and take care of that. Based on our projections, at this point, we're not thinking that we might not need to do another bond issuance until late 2018 or even 19.
And when we do, it will add,
It will add to that debt.
and this will cover the amount that we think it would probably add.
This will cover what we already know about today, but that's the reason why we want to go ahead and cover this need so that when those projects come on board and we have to plan for that debt service, that we know that we might have, well, we should have regular revenue growth to cover that need.
Right. So when I look at, I think you got the growth of the general obligation principal and interest over the years.
Can you get
2017,
Which
2018.
slide are you on, Councilor?
Page 36.
Okay, I just want to be with you. Okay.
Are you there? I just want to make sure I understand this.
Okay.
So when I look at FY 2019, it shows 267.
Yes.
Does that include that 11.9 already or not?
This right here represents bond principal and interest payments that are due.
Because we've already issued those
Because
bonds
we've
and we have
already
the schedule.
issued the bonds, and this represents that payment schedule.
Gotcha. So we know that's happening. And so
Yes.
that 11.9 is saying that would be added on top of that 267 if we issue more general obligation bonds in late 2018. Is that?
No. If we issue more bonds, it would add to this 267 number. Is that your question?
I think
The way
that's
to
what I'm
say it?
saying.
Yes.
Yeah, by
Yes.
perhaps an amount of 11.9 million that would land on top of that.
I don't know if it's 11.9 or 15 or.
Okay,
I don't
so
wanna
we're just having that to
Right.
plan ahead for when that happens.
Yes.
And if we can push that that bond issue out a year, then we just keep hanging on to that reserve for the future years.
Right. The important part is that when we started this budget process, we've heard loud and clear that people were concerned about all of the capital spending plans that had been done, the amount of debt that was forthcoming, and we wanted to address it in a very deliberate way.
Gotcha.
And we wanted to have a very specific strategy on how we were going to make sure that we met those obligations.
Okay, and so that 11.9 is what you're saying is that's part of the reason that our debt service ratio is at 12.6% now, because we've
Exactly,
gotten ahead
because,
on that.
if that, we've heard the debate about whether or not there should be some type of threshold. If there were a threshold, we would not even be able to pre-fund, be able to take this kind of an action to try to proactively deal with that.
And when rating agencies look at Metro, will they look at that reserve fund and say, oh, that's very smart?
Oh, they will be.
They will love that.
They will be thrilled.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Councilman Mendez.
Thanks. Just to follow up on those comments, and looking back at slide 36, if I'm understanding right, the 11.4 is just basically looking at fiscal 18, it's 258, and fiscal 19, it's 267.
That reserve is to cover that.
And all we're doing is already building into the budget the ability to cover 267.
Exactly.
All right. And as far as the percent of debt, the 11 million, while a good reserve, without that, instead of, I'm using round numbers, instead of 12.56, it would be like 12.51.
I think we did the math on it because the overall budget would reduce as well, so it'd be closer to like 12.1.
12.1?
Yeah, so it gave us about 0.5%.
Okay. And the 11.4, I'm pretty sure, so there's no contractual obligation. It's not a sinking fund that we're required to have. It's just us saying it's a pretty good year and we're going to pre-fund in the budget what we know our increase is going to be next year.
Correct, and you'll see a specific line item in the budget ordinance to hold us accountable to that, to set aside that reserve.
Okay. And then the other question I was going to ask was going to be about the hospital. Obviously, that number is quite a bit smaller than what the hospital authority asked for. Have they been filled in on the idea that it's going to be 35? And do they believe they can make that work for the year, or are they expecting to be back here?
We'll have to ask them that question.
Okay.
I have not had that conversation with
So
them.
when you told Councilman Schulman, we hope so, literally focus on hope?
Well, let's go back. I am encouraged that they have a very good board. I am encouraged by their finance committee. These folks are talented. They are knowledgeable. They know what they're doing. I know that they have ideas about some specific things that can be done out there. But I know that they've not had an opportunity to implement those strategies. And that's why I thought it was important to include the list of some of the things they reported back to us that they wanted to specifically look at in terms of lines of business and operations. And as of today, we don't have that information. So, so my caution there is I can't make a commitment about what that is because I haven't seen an actual proposal. So that's my caution.
Okay, and then two, I think, quick questions. On slide 28, specifically the arts $500,000.
Yes.
I've managed to lose track over the course of a year how that fits into context about the history of it. Is that a lot or a little? How does it fit in?
She's got a little over $2 million. In terms of, I'll tell you what she asked for in terms of the arts and how much we gave. What was requested out of that $155 million departmental budget request that we had was particularly for the arts grants. I want to make sure I get it right. Was $575, and the recommendation for that specific category is $275.
All right.
She got about half.
And then the last question is, I understand the printed books won't be till May 8th or so. Will we get access to an electronic version before that?
We will give those to you as soon as they are available. We had even hoped that they could all be electronic.
So, electronic, you think around the 8th too, or before that?
Hopefully yeah, they've got to put the document together in order to put the PDF. So the staff will be working frantically that weekend this is about a 600-page document that they've got to pull off in about 5 or 6 days.
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay.
Councilor Hurt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. You basically answered the first question I had in terms of the General Assembly and how the changes that the governor was going to have with the gas and food tax. But with your conservative approach, I think you probably won't see much of a difference, and anything that you do see will be a good thing.
Yes.
But I did have a question in regards to the property tax. Do you anticipate any kind of negativity in the increasing of the property taxes? I know you mentioned about the commercial and the growth and development, and knowing that that is done around some residentials that are not able to build in the same way that the development is taking place.
Okay. The first thing that I'm going to say is it's not an increase. What's happening here is a reappraisal and a reassessment, and because property values are changing and the rate being reset. Okay. Yes, it will impact different people at different levels of development. What's interesting, though, to me, this is, Vivian can talk about this a whole lot more than me, but we're using that 37% as the mean, but that's the mean for the city. It doesn't mean necessarily an individual house, an individual business, even when you look at that by district, and particularly when you've got so much of the growth hitting commercial. The best way to figure out what's going to happen with your specific property, up or down, or what percentage growth, is go to the assessor's website, because she's got all of that information available to every homeowner. I mean, I think they did everything that they could to try to reach out to folks in the city that they felt like were going to be impacted through this. And I guess I don't know how to answer the question so much as it is we've just got to work our way through it. And everybody will have an opportunity to appeal. There's an appeal process. I don't know what the date is. Vivian is back there on that, but everyone will have an opportunity to appeal any assessment. But the thing that I do want to make sure is that people understand, I can't say it over and over again, this is a reappraisal and it's a reassessment. It's not a tax increase. Okay?
Right, but if it feels like
it could feel like it. I agree.
Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Okay, so naturally I just run numbers as we're talking, and I think it's good that we're going ahead and looking ahead, and we're able to tell our staff and employees that, look, we're making a 3% commitment now. If I'm doing numbers very quickly, that's about $27 to $30 million is what it looks like to me, and that's just running it quickly. And
that's probably a reasonable ballpark.
Right. And then we take the debt service amount. So we're going to have to sustain the type of growth. I mean, if we to do this, we're literally going to have to. It looks to me, in order to make these future commitments that we're doing, that we're going to have to sustain the current growth that we've got now, just in order to hit the things that we put in there for the budget for next year, not the coming year, but the year after that on the 3% piece. That's one just observation that I have. The second is, obviously, I'm the debt, the debt service part. It concerns me a great deal. And I think Councilman Mendez, as you're doing the math, you're looking at maybe a half of 1 point there. And so that still is a concern. And I am glad to hear that you said you're going to have a line item on it, because I think that if we're going to set $11 million aside for debt service, we don't need to touch that, but to use it for debt service. Then for May 8th, because we are beginning our process on May 8th here in this chamber, If we may not have all of the electronic PDFs or whatever, and this is really to Chairman Cooper, I really hope we could have the first couple of days on the hearings that we're going to do, to where those of us who are going to be here are able to sit down, look at last year's history, look at what we have in this year, and, you know, because we're kind of flying blindly on that. So I think if there's any way.
I mean, they're already scheduled to work the weekends. I mean.
Well, I don't like walking in blind and not having numbers. Because if we say it's hopefully the 8th, but it may be the 9th, and we're already scheduled to begin hearings on the 8th. I mean, I don't know what other people think, but that's challenging.
I know.
So.
I mean, we committed that we could have them here by the 8th. I just wanted to give myself some wiggle room. I mean, they'll be here for that afternoon, but I can't say to you they'll be available to you that Friday or something like that. We're moving as fast as we can.
Okay. Well, that is just, I think, a legitimate concern that we're going to be asking questions about something that we really don't have any knowledge on. And so that is just the one area that concerns me a little bit. And I don't remember when codes specifically is coming up on what the date is for that. But I know, as you said, you've heard this chamber talk a lot about the enforcement piece and everything else. And it looks like maybe a 17 to 20 new positions is on the 1 million. Am I in the ballpark there?
No, it's not that many. It's probably in the neighborhood of somewhere between 7 and 10. It's not
7 to 10 for an additional $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Then I would like to. I definitely want to look at a little more deeply into that.
Councilman, it's more than just staffing.
Okay.
It's support costs. It's everything from tablets to cars to they need support costs in addition to that, and friends. So it's more than just salaries.
Okay.
And then there was some other recommendations in the audit report that was in there regarding enforcement, environmental court, and things like that. So that amount includes funding to implement those other recommendations as well. So it's not just all staffing.
Okay. Well, I think this just further legitimizes my concern of not having the data before we start the hearing. So, Mr. Chair and Vice Mayor, I mean, that's just an observation I have, and I think it's going to be challenging for us.
Yeah.
Well,
We communicated when the information would be available because we know how long it takes us to put together the materials. And
all right. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Councilman Sledge.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor, and thank you, Director, to you and your staff for the work that you've done. I've got two quick questions, and one's a revenue question. On slide 8, based on the property taxes, it kind of relates to Councilor Hurd's question. My question is about the commercial portion of that. I know that we're saying that it's a majority or it's the bulk of that revenue growth. Do we have an idea, and this might be something to check in concert with the property assessor's office, do we have an idea? I think the assumption is a lot of that commercial growth is downtown, but do we have an idea if that's in other areas of the county as well?
We have actually requested the data, and we are working with her staff to try to get a breakout of those individual components, because we've been looking at everything gross, because we both knew that those questions would come up.
Okay, that'd be great, because I think it will help us if we're seeing in those nodes like we've talked about from Nashville Next and other processes. I think that would be helpful. The other question I have, you may or may not be able to answer. It's the public works increase to 1.5 million. That's slide 25. The portion for the roving trash truck, Councilor Allen and I were just discussing this, is part of that in the description that I heard this morning, is part of that sort of a litter-based thing, or is it more about hitting districts that are that we're seeing heavier need, basically?
It's to address the heavier need.
Okay.
It would be a truck that is available to deal with immediate need in a particular area that could be deployed, that doesn't have a regular schedule, that could get deployed quickly to deal with a specific issue in the city. And so it would be available throughout the entire county.
Okay, great. That was the other question I was going to ask, because I know it was talked about the GSD, but we were just talking about Hillsborough Village and 12 South and discussions
Absolutely,
we've had
it's
there.
countywide.
Great, perfect. Thank you.
Councilman Coleman.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Ms. Womack, I'm a little confused about the certified tax rate. Did I hear you say that it is already established because I was under the impression we really couldn't get that number until the assessment was completed.
No, we have to, for purposes of filing a budget, we have to present a preliminary certified tax rate to accompany this budget recommendation. We know that the state has to approve it. And earlier in my remarks, I had said that that is with the state right now, and Vivian's back there shaking her head. We're thinking approval probably sometime in June. We just don't know when in June.
Right.
But for purposes of filing a budget by the date of May 1st, we have to put in something. And this is a rate that my staff and her staff got together, and we were comfortable that this was the an acceptable preliminary number to use for this budget.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I have no doubt that the both of you all will probably collaborate. It's just that I didn't think you could actually set it before the assessments were actually accomplished, but
It's true. We'll do a final. There won't be a final rate until the state signs off on it.
Right. And just two other small questions. Concerning the employees' raise for the coming year, the 3%, well, 2%, which is going to equate to 8 altogether. That's not a commitment as much as it is a goal?
Well, in terms of FY19 and FY20, you could probably characterize that as a goal because there's not like a dollar number in here for FY19 or FY20 because we would have to make a fund. I'm not appropriating money in this budget for the FY19 budget.
Yeah, and that was sort of my concern because we're telling on the front end this is going to be a commitment that we're making,
well,
but in a sense,
the legal director is over here saying it's a legal commitment.
it's a legal commitment before we get the
After
money
the
in.
Metro Council approves it and it's
I think you're
authorized by
both
this
right.
body.
Because,
Yes.
I mean, having been here the last time we did it, I think that the way it happens is we will amend the pay plan this year, planning to do the 3% and 3% in the following fiscal years. We will then have the opportunity to re-amend the pay plan next year in the event there was not funds available for a pay raise in the future. So you're both right.
Yes.
Okay, okay. All right. Very good. Well, thank you, and I look forward
We
to our
love it
hearing.
when we're both right.
Look forward to our hearing.
Council Lady Mina Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you, Director O'Neill. It is a hard job, and especially I am not complete, but I am currently listening all the YouTube budget hearing, and every single department came with a big number. And a total, as you said, it's nearly $150 million request. But if you see the number, actually, nearly 150 million, assuming including, employment, employee salary increase and so forth. Oh, it doesn't, okay.
No, that 155 has nothing to do with the debt service requirements, employee benefits, none of those. Those are just things that departments ask for.
So the actual increase, so you are managed to shrink down 150 million to 24 million.
Yes.
So in that sense, will we be able to take a look at their ask? So when we are considering FY18 number, so we can, I know you did a really great job prioritizing each department, but it would be helpful for us to take a look at their ask, and so if your budget reflect, each department needs.
I absolutely agree. That's what you all do best.
Thank you.
Councilman Bednack.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This is a question for Cooper. Can I ask Cooper a question?
Which Cooper? And don't say John.
Yeah, which John?
The budget chair.
You can address a question to the chair, and
Okay.
I will let the Budget and Finance chair respond.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. In the past, a couple of years ago, we had the charter school people come here and address a component of the money we give schools goes to the charter school people. So I think it would be beneficial to Nashville if we could get the charter people to come here and give us a report on how they use the money we give them to run the school. So I was wondering if that's something that we can ask the chair to consider. Thank you.
Mr. President. Yes, my feeling is yes, particularly if Budget and Finance Committee members or members of the council, I think we've tried to follow a policy where testimony has been encouraged by more than one members of the council, then it is approved and appropriate and invited. I think that's kind of by long-standing rule, and I think it is May the 23rd is currently scheduled for our education hearings, and that would be an appropriate day with more than one council member approving of that, that testimony. It would be welcome. Thank you.
Well, Talia, that's it. That's all the questions you have for today. We would like to thank you for coming, and the members of the public and Metro employees who are in the back. We look forward to working with you as we bring this process to completion over the next couple of months. Thank you again.
I appreciate you all very, very much. Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.